Jim? It's one of those days I have nothing to start with.
How about
same with Terry?
It's one of those days I had a feeling.
Hey, could I just follow on our colleague Martha Raddatz's interview with the Vice President?
I think there's a general consensus that we've made major progress, that the surge has worked. That's been a major success.
2/3 of Americans say it's not worth fighting.
So?
So you don't care what the American people think?
No, I think you cannot be blown off course by the fluctuations in the public opinion polls.
Let's set aside the meaning of the word "so" for a second, and get to something the Vice President then said about fluctuations in the public opinion polls. You can't be blown off course by fluctuations in public opinion polls. That would suggest that at any point in recent memory that the American public has been behind the war. That it's not like there's been fluctuations in polls. It's been different degrees of opposition to the war. So is the Vice President saying it really doesn't matter what the American public thinks about the war?
No, I don't think that's what he's saying, and obviously I haven't spoken to the Vice President since he's traveling today and was in Kabul visiting with President Karzai at the request of the President. But what he went on to say is that presidents should not make decisions based on polls, and we fully recognize that people across America are unhappy with the war. Possibly they didn't agree with the decision in the first place. They might have been unhappy with the conduct of the war. They might have disagreed with the President's decision to send in more troops, which was a very unpopular decision across the board. But what the President has said is that while people might not like the decisions that he makes, he has to do what he thinks is right for the country, and he cannot try to chase an opinion poll and try to make things better that way. He has to act on what he thinks is right, and that's what he's done.
So at what point, I guess if there is an impression that the Vice President doesn't care about what the American people think in a policy like that, is that a wrong impression? And does the President share that impression?
I think that is the wrong impression. I think that the Vice President and the President both, together, all of us across the administration, would like for people to support the President's decisions. We realize that that's unrealistic, especially in a time of war, and in particular this war. And while we're not able to change public opinion, we also have to follow principle and stand on principle. And you have to ask yourself, what kind of a person do you want in the Oval Office? And America will have this choice to make in November of 2008, before I get ahead of myself. So we believe that the President stood on his principle. He hasn't chased public opinion polls. He's aware of them, but he hasn't made decisions because of them. And I think there's a distinction. Just because you don't make decisions based on opinion polls doesn't mean you don't care what people think. We are all Americans. We care deeply about what people think.
American people are being asked to die and pay for this, and you're saying they have no say in this war?
I didn't say that, Helen, but Helen, this President was elected.
What it amounts to is you saying we have no input at all.
No, you had input. The American people have input every 4 years, and that's the way our system is set up. And we listened to different points of view. The President, in fact, had many meetings with members of Congress leading up to his decision about the surge.
For the people, of the people, by the people?
I would submit to you that people across America, if asked, what type of a president do you want? One that stands on principle or the one that chases polls? And I think that they would want
to war against the people who did nothing to us.
Helen, the President went to war to remove Saddam Hussein. He talked all about this yesterday in his speech. I'll refer you to that. Last one.
As far as Osama bin Laden and national security is concerned, he has issued another tape and warning Europe, and it may affect the United States. And also, yesterday Senator Obama called on the President to bring Osama bin Laden, who is in Pakistan. What does the President think? He's still alive? Osama bin Laden?
I would put it this way: the intelligence community analyzed the tape. They do believe that that was his voice. So that would mean that for all that we know, that he is still alive. And the President has a very aggressive hunt on for Osama bin Laden. And I think in the tape, what Osama bin Laden was trying to do is to suggest that he stands for all Muslims. And I think that if you look at the facts across the board, especially what's happening in Al-Anbar province and across Iraq, that Arabs are starting to turn against them, and that is of huge strategic significance in the global war on terror.